Good day everyone. I am Hildanor M. Leola, Section 3E18. For this output, I will be presenting 15 learning activities categorized into cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain. Each domain consists of 5 learning activities, and I will be identifying the verb used and explain why it belongs to that domain. Before I proceed with my presentation, so I'll be ask you something about school. So since grade school up to college, what does the school give us? So do you experience joining a group activities, doing a research, experiments, writing journals every day, reflections? So why do you think does the school give those activities? So by proceeding with my presentation, you will know the importance of those activities. Let me begin my presentation with the objective. At the end of the presentation, learners will be able to identify, describe, and apply the 3 learning domains: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor, by analyzing examples and designing appropriate learning activities. I may now proceed with the cognitive domain. So, focus of this domain is the mental skills, knowledge, and thinking. Examples: remembering, understanding, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. From those words or the focus of this domain, so it's said to be develop our critical thinking skills or intellectual abilities. If you are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, this is one of his learning domains. I may now give you the first activities that I'll choose in the cognitive domain, which is the identifying the differences and similarities between 2 things, persons, events. So a student will create a Venn diagram or a T-chart. So from the verb create, so this is a high order of critical thinking. So because creates requires analyzing of similarities, understanding, comparing, such as contrasting and classifying of differences and similarities of 2 objects, persons, or things. For the activity number 2 of cognitive domain, so it is the problem solving task. So whereas learner is going to solve a real mathematical problem or logical problem, whereas the word or a verb used is solve, where to solve a problem you're going to be a high critical thinker. So you also develop your mental processing, and you also need a high application of knowledge to answer those problem solving tasks. Okay, so let's move with the activity number 3 of cognitive domains. So learning activity is the research assignment. So whereas learners is said to gather information from multiple resources and summarize the findings. So from using the verb gather and summarize, you need a high critical thinking to analyze those findings or gather informations. And to summarize is you need to analyze it. For the 4th cognitive domain learning activities, it is a case study and analysis. So whereas learners is going to read a scenario, and she's going to analyze the causes, consequences, and solutions. So from the verb read used in these activities and analyze, it's said to be really a part of cognitive domain. So analyzing is part of cognitive domain. So able for you to analyze, you have to read what you're going to analyze. For the last or the fifth cognitive domain activities that I'm going to share with you is the debate preparation, where a student is going to develop arguments and supporting evidences for the debate, classroom debates. So the word develop, or the verb use is develop, whereas in a cognitive domain, high critical thinking skills or are developed with that domain. So with that doing that debate preparation, high analytical thinking is going to develop. Let's move forward to the next learning domains, which is the affective domains. Okay, its focus of this learning domains is the values, feelings, and motivations. This includes receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, and characterizing. The next activities belongs to affective learning, which is the activity number 6, which is the group discussion reflection activities, whereas the students are sharing their feelings and insight after discussion. So in that group activities, they will develop their gathering information with others, willingness to listen with others, valuing others' opinions and ideas. So they are receiving information or gathering information with others. So that's why it was belongs to affective domain. The next activity that belongs to affective domain is journaling, whereas the students or the learners write personal reflections about lessons or experiences. By writing your own journalism about your feelings, about your expressing your attitude, examining your values, belongs to affective domain because it responds to the levels of responding, valuing, or even organizing. The third affective learning activities is role-playing, whereas the students or the learners is act out of scenarios that understand different perspective or values. As the students act respectfully in his or her group activities, it is characterizing. It's also the learner act responsibly when completing tasks is characterizing, and the student act with all honesty in all situation is characterizing. So these activities belong to affective domain because it has the highest level of characterizing. Okay, we're done with the number 8 learning activities, which is the number 3 learning activities of affective learning. So let's proceed to number 9, which is the number 4 learning activities of affective learning, which is the peer appreciation activity, whereas the student give constructive compliments or positive feedback to her peers. So giving appreciation to peers is clearly part of affective domains because it involves showing positive attitudes, expressing respect and gratitudes, and demonstrating empathy and recognition, and building good relationship with others. Belongs to a level of valuing in affective domain. Another activity for the affective learning is the community task service, whereas the learner is doing a short project that helps students to develop empathy and social responsibility. Last but not the least, the psychomotor domain. So on our my previous presentation, the affective domain develop our attitude, values, characteristic, or being a good person, good student, or good person in our society. And while the cognitive is developing our high critical thinking skills, this psychomotor domain is much focus on developing our physical skills, coordinations, and movements. Includes imitation, manipulation, articulation, and naturalization. For the first activities of psychomotor domain is the hands-on experiment, where students perform simple science experiments involving measurement and manipulation. Then the next activity will be the psychomotor activity number 2, art of craft and creation. Learners use fine motor skills to create drawings, models, or craft. For the third activity of psychomotor activity is the student practice demonstration practice, where the students practice demonstrating skills, introducing products, using tools. Physical exercises, or our daily routine exercises, is also a psychomotor activity, whereas a short routine involving movement, coordinations, and timing. And last but not the least, activities belongs to psychomotor domain is the technology operation task. Students operate a device, tablet, cameras, lab equipment to complete a task. Whereas I think all of us is already developed with these activities. So for the conclusion, so cognitive domains builds thinking skills, and affective activities builds values and attitudes, while the psychomotor activities build physical skills, and together those skills, they support holistic learning. Thank you for watching.